Need more Grok Talk? Well, you can catch new shows Saturday mornings from 9 to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Miss a show? Not a problem. Past shows are rebroadcast here daily from 9 to 11 a.m. Monday through Friday. Join us for 2 hours of unapologetic conservatism. And we're not just armed with opinions.
Half the time the mic was on. We're talking about the Hog Report. It's awesome. It's the same as the show. It really is. There's no difference.
No, there isn't.
It's ADD from beginning to end.
So we're going to go from the Hog Report to Croydon. Thank you, Michelle, for coming in.
There's a segue.
Yeah, from the Hog Report to Croydon, because there's hogs in the state education establishment.
Trough is open.
The trough is open, and they're having some issues with the fact that Croydon doesn't want to line up at their trough, or it doesn't want their students to have to.
No, as your listeners have been following along, the Croydon School Board implemented a school choice program that gives parents choice. Oh, no.
Freedom.
Scary. I know, what a scary concept, right? And they've been working its way through the court system now, and they have a date in the Superior Court coming up on March 9th up in Newport. And that's going to be really important, because that's where they're going to actually finally make a decision whether or not this is kosher by statute.
Another person saying Yiddish. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I like that.
Well, all right. Being choice-oriented folks over here as far as education goes, we've looked at the law as written. Now, this is New Hampshire.
Here we go.
So what judges read and understand is never quite the same as what we do.
Seriously.
They're living
yes.
laws.
That's
Cherish.
So when it says things like, you cherish.
Hate that word.
So when it says things like, and I wrote a post about this after we interviewed them about this Croydon situation, and basically Croydon discovered that we have school choice in New Hampshire. It exists. It's already written into law. It just isn't being used. They're using it, and everybody's like, oh, my God.
Yes, that's exactly it. There are statutes already in place that allow schools to essentially tuition out their kids if they don't have the schools in their own district. So in Croydon's example, they offer K through 4. They already tuition out starting in grade 5. And all that Croydon's program does is allow parents to pick between the public school that they have an agreement with, their area agreement school, which is Newport.
How dare they?
I know, seriously. Or these private schools that actually are a savings to the town. So right now there are 4 kids.
Not giving money to unions? How dare they?
And these are
Have you no shame?
These are independent schools. They're non-religious, so it doesn't run afoul of the Blaine Amendment. But it's it's $4,000 per kid. With the 4 kids that are going to the Montessori school that they picked, that's $16,000 a year this year alone.
That's as much as Merrimack spends on one student.
Guilford's around 18 now. $18,000. Might as well just send them to private schools at this point.
That's huge money, and when I came to this country, upscale schools were considered to be $5,000, and average was about $3,000.
People tend to not even realize how much public schools cost because it's kind of like hidden in their property taxes. They don't realize what it's costing to educate the kids in their schools.
And not only this, when I was on my budget committee, I would always look at here's our enrollment, here's how much we're spending. The math is easy. And the school board, in defending the budget, was always saying, oh, no, you can't do it that way because this, and this. And the number was always several thousands of dollars less.
Always.
Now, of course, then I just point out, okay, you've got one teacher. Here's what they're making, usually above the median wage of the town in which they're teaching. And here's 30 students. 30,000, do the 30 times whatever the money is. You're talking about $250,000 to $500,000 a classroom.
And it's not going just to the teacher, but so where is it going? It's that what the Friedman Foundation calls administrative bloat.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
a beautiful thing when you think about they've done this longitudinal study across the country and by individual states to see exactly where that money's going. And it really isn't
And I
to
have
the
a
kids.
very
It's
simple,
not to the classrooms.
I have a very simple question to ask, and it worked. It took me several years in Guilford to finally get them to understand what I was getting at. What is your indirect to direct labor cost? This is a well-known idea in manufacturers. What is your overhead? Not only how in head count, but in head count cost. And because of declining enrollment in Guilford, they finally had to start firing some of the administrators because, after 3 years of me asking this question and they're not doing anything, they were leaving themselves to hang.
You want to get yourself in trouble, and that's a good way. Write a blog post about how it costs less in tuition at UNH than it does to go to your local school.
Wow.
Oh,
That's
like
not
that.
comparable, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, wait a second. It was $13,400 something for a year at UNH, right? That didn't include room and board. Or maybe it did, I don't remember. And then at the same time, it was $16,200 something per student for public education.
And one of the things these towns like to do is they don't like to count the capital costs. They try to separate the capital
here's
costs
the thing.
out.
They're
It's a warrant
I'm like,
articles.
they're like, that doesn't count. That's not this. That I'm like, wait a minute.
But when you pay
if I
a
take
private
the entire
private school
budget,
has to count that.
all the money that you asked for to educate, scare quotes, children in our town, and I divide it by the number of children in our town who are using that service, I get a number, and it's larger than the cost of tuition at UNH.
But Steve, then how does UNH always seem to afford much better rock walls for the kids to climb on than the schools?
And new
Public schools.
logos and crazy. Anyway, let's get back to
Speed
Croydon.
codes.
You brought up declining enrollment.
Yeah.
That's happening across the state.
Yes.
And so why should districts be limited to supporting schools that are having fewer and fewer students? It's cost efficient for them to, right, look around and see how they can offer.
You drew a graph, and when you get down to one student, it's going to cost you $260 billion.
You know why? A union official in my town exclaimed during the town meeting, this is several years ago, "Oh, the enrollment may be down, but the needs are up."
Oh.
This is because teachers now see themselves as the true parents of the kids. I mean, I've got it on video where you've got teachers down basically dissing the parents.
Yeah.
And my daughter-in-law is getting a degree in teaching, and they are explicitly being taught by these education professors, do not trust the parents.
How's that going, by the way? Because she's been at this for a couple of years now. She graduate yet?
She's kind of
Close?
slowly
Close?
going through. She's got 2 little ones at home, so
Oh, okay.
this is an extended study.
And is she
kind of
buying
deal.
into that, or is she just telling you that because it's like, because my son takes a photography class at NCC, and his professor, he likes the class because it's Photoshop and stuff like that. And we had to buy him a $500 camera, which he likes, which I'm going to borrow. And it's nice camera and he's like, oh, the guy's always going on about this and that and the crazy left flank. I said, don't get yourself in trouble. Keep your mind. He's like, I am. But even in the photography class.
Yeah. It's everywhere.
Yeah,
It is.
everywhere. And by the way, she listens to Grok Talk. Hi.
Oh, hey, hi. Hope everything's going good.
But
Thanks for listening.
But it really is. We're seeing that used to be. It's no longer the best summarized. It's no longer the teacher's desk with the apple on top. Ain't happening. It's like everything else that the left
We got an apple.
touches. It becomes politicized, and we're seeing schools turning into social justice warrior centers.
Well, the Croydon situation isn't necessarily a partisan issue. This started at the town
yes, it
level.
is.
Well, it
Yes, it
started at the
is.
town level.
Who
the
controls-
town?
Who controls who, and that is
But
partisan.
she's talking about the people in the
But the
town
people
who want
in
to
the
take
town,
advantage
yes.
of it.
Were the ones who originated the idea several years ago. I want to say 7. They started way, way, way back. Went through this process with the Department of Ed, knowing full well what they planned, and it went through several votes at the town level before they implemented it with the 2014-15 school year. And I think that time they had 5 students And it was last March that the DOE finally sent a letter to the Croydon School Board trying to put a stop to it. After this had been in motion for a long, long time. And then this fall, the Department of Ed tried to claim this sort of irreparable harm and sought an injunction. It was just insane. And when you listen to what the Attorney General said, and they represent the Department of Ed, they were saying that these students were irreparably harmed every day they were staying in those schools of
choice. Everybody going to Pinkerton Academy has been irreparably harmed for centuries.
And this makes no sense. There are like 5 or 6 or so different districts across the state that have different types of arrangements with private schools for tuition agreements. Some of them are private schools across state lines. So you tell me how this Croydon program is such an odd animal. It doesn't make sense when you look at the Department of Ed's arguments.
Is this going to
Freiburg Academy in Maine?
Yep. Does anybody think this is going to end up going up higher up outside the state?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I can't imagine. We know these judges. If you asked everybody in this room how they'd rule, we know that they're going to rule the wrong way.
Does it matter who is pushing the program? Because these are libertarian/free staters in Croydon that are pushing this external tuition.
Yes, but the blind justice shouldn't care.
Right, but
it's not blind.
It's very similar in some ways to a right to work situation where this creates, this is from their perspective, the camel's tent under the nose. This sort of represents an existential threat.
Camel's tent under the nose.
Something like that. Camel's nose under the tent.
We know what you meant. That's okay.
They have built a
rock shot.
There you go. That's the WTF.
We're gonna use that from now on. Camel's tent.
They have built a camel's tent right under our nose.
That's right. So no, but the education establishment views what Croydon is doing or could be doing as a potential existential threat, as a way of bypassing a lot of the regulations and a lot of the opportunities for unions to expand their power base.
And you're absolutely right. But going back to politicization, I know you're talking about Croydon, but when you look at the political makeup of the school, of the Board of Education here in the state,
don't get me started.
That's where you go.
Yeah, we don't have time for that.
And you have a willy-nilly AG's office that's basically a lapdog saying, "Oh, who am I supposed to run after?" That's where everything has to do with government is political. I don't care anymore. Don't bring politics into it. Well, you're 1,000 years too late.
No, I do totally agree with you. When I saw the Attorney General have an attorney there for the public hearing on HB 1637, and that's the specific bill I want to bring to your listeners' attention. The House Education Committee is going to be voting on that Tuesday morning.
Which is, for our listeners?
It is the School Choice for Small Towns bill. It impacts not just Croydon, but 14 other small districts across this state. It's clarifying language that says it's not that school choice to contract with a private academy, that's the magic word that's used in statute, is not limited to the high school level. It would be applicable to any level at which the town or the district does not offer their own classes. When I've talked with the Croydon folks, and this makes so much sense, to provide an adequate education, why does that mean that the district has to be the producer of that education?
Absolutely, because they're cherishing their students.
They are providing the education.
They're cherishing the little cherubs.
You got to use their own words to fit it, for as nasty as adequate education is, or as cherish, but you don't have to be the producer of that education to provide it. And so in that way, the money can follow the child to the school of their choice. And in this Croydon example, it's private schools that are not religious. So it should already match up with what's allowed in statute. But 1637 has like 2 small words that would clarify it and clean this up once and for all of these little districts.
How's it looking?
Cherish union contracts. I think that's what they mean.
So let me ask, why Croydon? Why now? You say there have been contracts with outside of town borders, sometimes with private schools, sometimes across state lines, for years or decades.
Centuries.
Why Croydon? Why now?
I think Skip brought up a good point, and you brought up this point, Mike, that it's these libertarian free staters that are, I know, they're rocking the boat. And as you said, Greg, it is something that the DOE sees as a bigger threat. It's the David and Goliath kind of thing here. If Croydon is successful here, it creates this cascade effect.
Legal precedent.
Exactly. And that's what the DOE is so afraid of.
Yeah, that and because I was thinking back to the scholarship program.
Yeah.
And the buckets of money and
Yep.
the whole deal about the costs and all these taxes being diverted. And of course, I was making the same argument. You're already collecting $16,000 a year per student, whether the student attends or not, right? Because that's what you're doing. So really, if you have fewer students, you actually have more money.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly. In your pot than less, because the percentage from the scholarship is so small.
Yes.
And you're not collecting that from the businesses. You're collecting it from property owners unless they own property. But you know what I mean.
Exactly.
So I mean, it's like it's all about that huge pile of money to them, and it's not about the students, and it's not about cherishing, and it's not about adequate education. It's about maintaining a monopoly.
It is, and they don't want to let that competition in.
But I mean,
all.
I tell you, there's a little bit of short-sightedness here because they might follow this process down and get an adverse legal ruling against them. Because on the law, it's a pretty solid case. But here's the thing: if there's an adverse ruling against the DOE and the State Board of Education, they've basically opened Pandora's box for every small town. And particularly, it's going to be true as more free staters decide to move into more small towns.
Every town, isn't it? I mean, really,
Exactly.
because it does. I mean, school choice exists in law. You can use that money to send your child anywhere in the state. It's already in law. They just don't want it advertised.
Right.
And as you said, this will give us an opportunity to advertise.
Exactly. So in many ways, I mean, they might just the law of unintended consequences might be that more towns like, hey, this seems like a good idea. We should do it too. No one's going to do that until they see the outcome of the Croydon case.
We already know that other towns and districts are watching this very carefully. They've contacted the Croydon School Board members wanting to do the same thing, but they don't want to rock the boat. They're going to let Croydon take all the pressure and see what happens.
We got about a minute.
We need some amicus briefs here. Right, real quick. So you questioned why should the town be the producer? And the answer is the town doesn't need to be the producer of anything except the management of the town. And I draw attention to Reason.tv. Reason wrote many, many years ago about Sandy Springs, Georgia, a town that decided to privatize all their city services.
My brother lived in a town outside of Oklahoma City. Same thing. Everything's out.
And Reason.tv's got a little documentary on it. An excellent resource if you're not familiar with it.
All right, we got about 20 seconds. Let's
So
squeeze
go to
something
schoolchoicenh.org for more information on this important bill 1637 that the House will vote on, or the House Ed Committee will vote on Tuesday morning, plus several other important bills with the full contact information.
Looking good?
If you want to send us something,
Is it looking good?
Yeah.
if you want to send us something to post, just
Sure.
shoot it my way and I'll
Absolutely
put it up.
will.
All right,
Thank you.
Grok Talk. We're done for this week. We'll be back next week. Same deal. Lots of people, lots of talking, lots of Grok Talk. Make sure you're here. Have a good weekend. Goodbye.
The opinions expressed on this program are those of the speakers and not necessarily those of CNHT, GraniteGrok.com, this station, or anyone else for that matter.
Excellent.
Rock.